Welcome to the Translation Mysteries series for Digimon Survive. This translation analysis compilation video will make use of my live playthrough on Twitch. First, an important note though. Localization is an art, not a science. There's almost never a right answer, so at the end of the day, these are just one person's opinions. Alright, let's get started.
そうか。またあいつが勝手に。どうもありがとう。
I'm sorry, but we're actually looking for her ourselves. She went off to go to a shrine with some of the other campers. We were just going to try and bring them back. I see, so she went off on her own. No, we literally just said she went with other campers.
そうか。またあいつが勝手に。
Oh.
どうもありがとう。
So katteni means to do something without permission, basically, to do something without consulting anyone. So here, she went off on her own is not she went off by herself. He means she went off without, taking into account anyone giving her permission to do so or something like that. She went off alone, all by herself, no one around her, completely solitary, with two other people. Yeah, I think, so, when you're translating, normally what you need to do is you need to go back and read the English on its own and decide whether or not the English works by itself. So this line was probably translated keeping in mind katteni, but then what they needed to do after that was take all of this into account and then realize, oh wait, that sounds really weird because it says that she went with someone and then he says she went off on her own, and that can be confused for a different meaning than what we're going for.
なあ、みんな。今って春だよな。
決まってるだろ。今が春じゃなきゃいつが春だって言うんだよ。
Kimatteru daro. Kimatteru means like, of course it is. The English went for, does a bear poop in the woods? I think that's fun, but I'm sure other people aren't excited for those types of translations. What should I do? Stand and fight, wait and see, run away? We're out of here.
こいつ、ずっとこっちから目をそらさないぞ。だけど、見た感じ、足は鈍そうだし。よし、ここは一気に。
So, the Japanese here has the first part, this first sentence. The thing isn't taking its eyes off me for a second, but the second sentence isn't there. I can't run like this. Which makes sense because he then says, it doesn't look that fast if I just book it. It's fine. If you were gonna say this line, why would you say I can't run like this? And it's not even in the Japanese. So I don't know why you would add this. I'm confused.
まずはお礼を言うよ。助けてくれてありがとうな。
I see what you're saying, Pika. So in this particular scene, it feels very sincere, what Takuma is saying. 助けてくれてありがとうな. But you really saved my bacon back there. Feels a little bit more, I don't know, casual or easygoing than the Japanese sounds. But again, I think this is probably another situation where the translators can see the text, but they can't hear what it sounds like, so it might be hard for them to tell that Takuma is being really sincere there. Although, Takuma as a character doesn't seem like someone who's, messing around saying, you really saved my bacon back there. It sounds more like Minoru. Yeah, it's not really something you'd say after someone literally prevented your death. And also, Takuma has been pretty straight-laced up till now, so there's no precedent. Yeah, so I actually was gonna add on to what I was saying here. What he was saying during the battle, son of a and whatever, feels a little bit like a different personality for Takuma, just a little bit. So yeah, the characterization for Takuma doesn't feel as set in stone. And it might be because there are different people translating different parts or something like that. I don't know. Oh, that makes sense if they translated just using text and not hearing the voice lines. Yeah, so it's obvious if you think a little bit about it, but I think for most people, they don't realize that as a translator, you're not literally watching the game and then translating it, right? As the people playing the game, we get this experience of having the presentation there, so we can think about the translation and stuff. We can think about it in a much more informed manner, but as a translator, you usually just have the words on the screen, and you might have some context given to you if you're lucky. You might be given some stage directions, stuff like that, but you don't get all of the presentation, so sometimes you might translate something, but then when you see it all put together and you hear it, then you realize, you know what, it might have been actually better to go with this instead of what we actually went with. So yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that there's not quite as much information for the translator as it seems like there would be. And once you've translated it, it's hard to go back to, you know, retranslate all of these different lines that the nuance is just a little bit different. But yeah, that's definitely something a lot of people wouldn't know, right? Translators are they sit here, they have the words on the screen, and they're translating. And they have maybe a little bit of context. They work with what they have. So they're making evolve a, like, special verb. It's an in-game term, so maybe they capitalized it. The term was digivolve, but they're not in the digital world, so it'd be really weird to call it digivolving. I think they didn't even say evolve in Japanese.
危ないところで助けてくれたのもこの姿になれたのも全部タクマのおかげだ。
Something that's actually kind of interesting is that in this line here, Agumon says, I could only evolve thanks to you. And in this line down here, Takuma says, what do you mean? Is that what made you transform? Which in Japanese...
どういうことだよ。その姿になったことか。
In Japanese, for both of those lines, they don't use the word evolve or transform or anything like that. They use more common language, like sugata ni naru, which means to become that form, right? Which, in Japanese, it makes it sound more like neither of them really understand what's happening. But when Agumon here says evolve, and when Takuma here says transform, it sounds like they're a little bit more informed. Which could be just from, like, the translator's perspective, having read the Japanese, understood the Japanese, and thinking, okay, so what he said was, what made you transform? Or what he said was, I can only evolve thanks to you. But I do think that the Japanese points a little bit more to, they don't really understand it a little bit more. I like that nuance, to be honest. Yeah, it makes a little bit more sense, right? Because Takuma obviously doesn't really understand what's happening, right? So for him to say, Sugata ni naru, you know, for you to become like that, or for you to become that way, or for you to turn into that, make it a little bit more ignorant. You have less information. You could make it so that they don't sound like they know what they're talking about. I guess we'll see if Agumon does know what he's talking about, but it sounds a little bit like he is not 100% sure. Especially when he says here, I can't explain it, and then Takuma says, what the heck's going on here? And he says, sa, or beats me. So yeah, overall the Japanese does feel like they don't know quite as much, but the English has a little bit more, like, they kind of get what's happening.
またあんなのに襲われる可能性あるのか。
This isn't a question. So the reason why...
わからない。
The reason why sometimes a translator will put a question mark on the end of a sentence that starts with I wonder is because in Japanese, this sentence does have a question mark. So if you end a sentence in Japanese with kana, a lot of the times it ends in a question mark. And so then the translator translates it, and they're going fast and they're not really thinking too much about it. They're going da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they translate the sentence and they remember that there's this question mark, or they see the question mark and they put it over in the English.
That'll do it for now. There is a mix of Xenoblade and Digimon translation videos on the way. So if you enjoyed and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to discuss translations live, be sure to drop a follow on Twitch at BrooklynB_JP. Thanks for watching, and see you all next time.